Hello, welcome back. Thank you for joining me here. We're going to take a look at surprise, another really fundamental idea today. This is a theme. This is A Course in Miracles, and for over 1,000 pages of a text, a workbook for students, manual for teachers, clarification of terms, and two smaller but very powerful supplements to the course, we look at the same ideas cast in different ways. We, of course, look at them on different days, at different seasons and epochs of our lives, at different times, and on any one given day, at any one given moment, something that we've seen before may really hit. I'm betting that you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's what we call an aha moment. You may call it a revelation, or you may not put a label on it at all. It's just an experience where all of a sudden you get something. Suddenly, something becomes clear. So we repeat these fundamental concepts and ideas. Now, can it seem like tedium? Yes. We find that while these ideas are in fact quite simple, we don't make it easy for ourselves to put them into practice. So that's where the real learning actually takes place. So what's really going on here is, like it or not, we find ourselves from time to time blocking our own learning. This is getting in our own way, which takes many forms. And you may have heard about this in various spiritual traditions. I know when I studied Buddhism extensively, we talked about that all the time, getting out of our own way, getting out of our own way. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means allowing the Holy Spirit to run the show. We're going to talk about allowing today. And in the process, we're going to highlight some very well known passages from A Course in Miracles. And we're actually only looking at two paragraphs of the text, packed with meaning. And may something land for you right now, today. We're looking at the introduction to chapter 21 specifically. It's two paragraphs long. First sentence of paragraph one, we see the fairly well known passage from the Course: projection makes perception. We perceive what we've projected outside of us. What this means is that the world that we see when we appear to look out through these mirrors, where the images that we see are actually upside down and backwards, we don't see things as they really are. Du entendre? Yeah, always. Right? It's we we're seeing things upside down and backwards. So the world that we see is what we gave it. It's an outward picture of an inward condition, another well known phrase from A Course in Miracles. What we're looking at here is an outward picture of an inward condition. It's an inward condition in our mind that we've projected outward, made separate from us, in other words, made separate from our chosen adopted home, which is, of course, not our real home at all, which we all know, or we would not be interested in spirituality in any way, shape, or form. And of course, there appear to be many, many people running around spinning ball of rock that are not interested in it. So be it. They're not interested right now or yet. Just wait. This journey that you've embarked on awaits them too. For them, it's going to take a different outward form for sure, just as it does for all of us. That's only a difference in outward appearance. The content, the meaning of this journey is exactly the same, no matter what the outward form, which accounts for all of the differences that we see in the world, and especially here in the arena of what we call spirituality. It accounts for every single different tradition that exists, that's existed for thousands of years, or that's existed since this morning, right? Everything and all in between. There are many doors. A Course in Miracles is but one of them. But should you choose to open this door and enter, it's a very direct. You deserve nothing less. I mean, haven't we all been running around suffering long enough? Definitely. So, the world that we appear to see is, in fact, an outward picture of an inward condition. What we have in our own mind is what we see. And this is where we love to protest that that statement is patently wrong and that pixelated image is wrong and that this course is wrong. Well, that's the ego resisting. Always. Any resistance is always of the ego. You may count on that. And you don't have to accept that in the present moment. I mean, we don't. And we haven't, or we wouldn't appear to be here having this conversation. It would be completely unnecessary. But here we are with division in our mind. Here we are with blame in our mind and hatred and attack thoughts in our mind. Now, also in our mind is joy and love and forgiveness and peace of mind and limitlessness, because we experience an up, down in our lives. Some moments are absolutely amazing. They're beautiful. And in these moments where we feel connected, we feel expansive, these moments alternate with moments of dread. They alternate with moments of extraordinary rage and anxiety and fear and frustration. And it's quite like a roller coaster going up and down, up and down. It really is. It's an outward picture of an inward condition. Therefore, everything that we see in the world that appears out there is in our mind. There is nothing outside you. Therefore, this course is not about changing the images that appear out there, but it's about changing the cause, mind, the mind, changing our mind. We seek not here to change the world that we see out there, but to change our mind about the world. That's A Course in Miracles. Stick around if you wanna. We seek to change our mind about the world that we see. What we perceive is an effect. Mind is the cause. Couple of words about perception. If you're not familiar with this dialogue, that makes perfect sense, actually, because, well, not very many spiritual traditions go there with this. Perception is necessarily what we call dualistic because it involves, of necessity, a perceiver and an object or a thing or an idea that is perceived. It is seen as outside the perceiver. They're seen as two, as separate, subject, object, perceiver, perceived. That's the world that we look upon, and we think this is the perceiver, and that everything out there, or so we think it's out there, appears as the perceived. That's perception. The eyes images, the images that are reflected onto the retina are upside down and backwards, which is wholly and completely appropriate. We don't see things as they are. We see ourselves as separate. We are not. This course is about learning to perceive truly, to clarify, in other words, our perception and turn it right side up so that we see things as they really are. When we do that, truth dawns of itself. That's awakening, that's enlightenment. The Course refers to it as knowledge, which can also be said as experience. We know God, we experience truth, which dawns of itself once we have clarified our perception. Prerequisite here. We're talking a prereq. So here we are, apparently. So when we look out at spinning ball of rock and everything that appears to be going on here, we can see the world as holy and Holy, holy, and joyous, loving, or we can see it as condemned and hostile and bitter and full of violence at every turn. You know, we can see one of those two, and what we see reflects what we have in our mind. Therefore, the heightened and highlighted multiple times importance of changing our own mind. So, so important and so critical. That's what we're doing here. It's what we're about here. So, what you're looking at is how much joy and how much peace and limitlessness and love you've allowed. When we look out, what we're seeing with the upside down reflecting mirrors, upside down and all that, what we're seeing is how much joy we've allowed, how much love, how often we've remembered to forgive, how often we've remembered to set our own wild, ego driven interests to the side and let the Holy Spirit take control. Y'all know the bumper sticker, Jesus take the wheel. Yes, because we keep crashing the car. One vehicle after another winds up in the ditch. Doesn't it? What we see out there, again, what we think of as out there is a picture of what's going on in our mind. So here's the powerful component here. You have the power to change this. This course is about changing your mind. If what you see is an outward picture of an inward condition, change your mind. Forgive. Extend love to your brother to keep it in your mind. That's how we keep it. When you extend love, you keep it in your mind. When you extend hatred and division, that remains in your mind too. You think you're projecting it outwardly, but you're not, because Well, there's nothing outside you. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. Ideas leave not their source. Another very fundamental concept, idea, statement of truth from A Course in Miracles. You have the power to change this. If you don't like what you see, change your mind about it. Forgive, forgive, forgive. You may find, as we wrap up here, the image of watching a movie to be very, very powerful. Imagine you're sitting in a movie, dark movie, looking at a screen and pictures that appear and disappear and move about on this screen. There's a projector house with a film up in up above you, behind you, like in an old-fashioned movie theater. This is where this image works best. And there's a film in there playing. You have the power sitting there in the movie theater. No one has made you get in there. As you watch the images play out on the screen, if they disturb you, or if you're watching a film that's horrifying, terrifying, and makes you want to scream, if it's sad, produces extraordinary anger, or it's depressing, you have the power to stand up, get up, walk back to the projection house, which, by the way, is unlocked always and accessible to all. Go in there, stop the painful movie, and replace it with the only other film that you see up there in the projector house. There are not 5 million, there are two. One painful, the other the thought system of the Holy Spirit. Put that film into the projector. What we see in the world is an outward picture of an inward condition. What you see out there is how much joy you've allowed into your life and into your mind. And as you practice this course, if you really do it, you begin to see more and more joy. You do not see things the same way. If you've been doing this and you've been really, really doing it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's uplifting. And I wish that for all of you. So I really, 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 as always, invite you to join me. All right. So subscribe. The prompt is right here. Go ahead and do that if you have not. Thank you to those of you who have recently done that. It's an international community, and several videos appear each week. There's always something important to talk about here. Questions are most welcome. Comments, even if you just wish to pop in and say hello, I do take a look at these comments very frequently. So I will see them, and questions are always most welcome. I'm happy to do a standalone video or several standalone videos about particular topics of interest to you, because I am very, very interested in what's coming up for all of you live. Okay. So I really very much appreciate your being here. Thank you for joining me.